Oh, okay.
Morning, we got a full agenda this morning, so we're gonna start on time. Calling this meeting to order, we will start a moment of reflection. Looking for confirmation of the agenda.
Just to, thank you, Mayor Orr, yeah, in conjunction to my email that I sent out on Friday regarding the report that I was adding under the public.
Graded.
Yeah, as a grader, if we could just amend the agenda.
Yeah, please. Okay, amending the agenda to include those reports. Moved by Bob, second by Sam. All those in favor, carried. So do you need a full recommendation then? Nope, okay. No declaration of pecuniary interest for anyone? Nope, no report to closed session. We're moving on to item 6, consent agenda. Does anybody like anything pulled through discussion? Councilor Martin,
6.16, the Perth County update.
do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, it's kind of good. I'm just wondering, I see that the living snow fence funding has wrapped up the fall intake. Did we put in for any of that? Yeah,
The municipality didn't. No, I don't know about the residents making.
okay, because it does sound like it comes from the municipality as well, right? Or is this something that has to be done specifically from residents?
I believe that does need to come from residents.
Okay, so,
But we received money from that in the spring intake, so that's how True Power is.
this seems to be specific to the living snow fence.
Yeah. I think it's, they're really looking for certain areas where they can put something in 30 feet in so the snow will blow and will help on the roads. So they put it out there and see who would be interested. I think it's a program that has to definitely grow. We might have to target some people.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we, if our roads guys could identify some ones that would be helpful. And also if we could add it to the newsletter, so that maybe, residents for South might not know this program exists. And it looks like the spring intake is opening up.
All right, good idea. You need a mover, a seconder, or, okay. Anybody else? Councilor Vanessa?
I have a couple here. 6.3, Oswald Vehicle Conservation Authority. In their report here, they mentioned that they are now tracking cell phones. They're using a program called Propulso to track what phones and how many people are on their trails, and I would like to send them a letter saying that would be an invasion of privacy. They're saying that their comment is they are only tracking the pings from the phones. It's only one more step to where they're actually tracking phone numbers. I mean, we've seen it during COVID, the Canadian government tracked every cell phone across Canada, and that should be strictly outlawed. I'd like them to send them a letter or a note saying that that should not be done.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I would support that.
Any other comments? Maybe we could clarify if it's a safety issue.
Sure.
Yeah. I, only because I have been in the bush and got lost, and I was very grateful my kids had Find Your Phone.
That's fine. I have a problem when the outside authority is tracking. That's my concern.
You need a program seconder for that?
So I guess I just need clarification. Are we getting clarification on what they're
Well, let's
using?
get clarification first.
Okay, and I can just use direction for that.
Thank you. And then,
Sorry, I think we should be questioning the legality of it more than.
We must have got legals from Penn.
6.9, just wondering, is there a clarification that has to do with the Kirkland Woodham update? Is there any clarification on how far we are within the memorandum of understanding?
Go ahead, Bob.
Right now, it's at a standstill. Fred was working on it, and with Fred's departure, it's at a standstill, so hopefully our new CEO will be able to pick up the ball.
Okay, thank you. 6.16 per county update. I would like to pass along thanks to, for myself at least, and other ratepayers, Sue or Bob, if you could pass that along to staff for all the links on their articles. That is just awesome. They have a thing there, you click the link and the whole thing comes up. I think that's just great. And my final one is 6.22. That has to do with Upper Thames and the city of London.
All right,
And the city of London requested of Upper Thames earlier this spring that they come back with a budget. 1.5% less than what they paid last year, the city of London, and Upper Thames has sent them a letter saying they believe it can be done. And I would ask that First South sends the same letter and requests that our costs drop 1.5% also. Because I don't want the city of London's costs being borne by the other municipalities, so I would like to move a resolution for that fact.
okay, we'll put that on the floor. Resolution to send a letter to, for towns regarding, 1.5 decrease in budget
In the 2026.
in 2026, moved by Councillor Vanessa, second by Councillor Martin. It's on the floor, any more discussion? All those in favor? Good. Thank you.
That's it.
Any other items to be pulled? Consent agenda? Seeing none, I have a recommendation that consent agenda items 6.1 to 6.22. We have potential for up to 6.3, 6.9, 6.16, and 6.22. Be received for information and of the regular council minute of September 16th, 2025, be approved. Moved by Councillor Jeff Bell, second by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm. All those in favor? Carried. We are at public meetings, hearings, and delegations. Chief Hunter, if you'd like to join us at the front. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. Hi. Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and members of council. Thanks again for the opportunity to provide an update on Ontario Regulation 343, which deals specifically with firefighter certification across the province. As you may be aware, there have been several questions raised regarding the regulation, particularly following the circulation of a letter from the Township of Black River, Matheson. I prepared a report, which you have before you, that was originally presented to the Perth East Fire Department Joint Advisory Committee. And I'm pleased to walk council through some of the highlights of that today. What I'll do is I'll just go through the questions that are in the report and just give you a little Coles Notes version on them. So the first question was, will Perth East have any difficulty meeting the timelines outlined in the regulation? Short answer, no. Perth East is in a strong position to meet the timeline. In the last couple of years, we have completed 2 recruit classes. We have a 3rd scheduled this coming spring. We've completed 2 hazardous material training courses, and a 3rd one is currently in progress. We have completed 2 pump operation courses earlier this summer. All of those courses are part of the mandatory training that has to happen before July 1st of 2026. In addition to the training we're doing, many of our current firefighters are already compliant with the certification. Ongoing training is certainly a key part of our program. The regulation also allows uncertified firefighters to work under the supervision of a certified firefighter for up to 2 years. So the province is basically giving us 2 years from when we hire somebody to get them trained and certified, which is amplifying. Second question, are there any shortfalls related to staffing, training, equipment, or budget? No significant shortfalls at this time. We have managed to offset some of the training costs by including firefighters from neighboring communities. Looking ahead, there may be some minor items included in the 2026 budget, but certainly nothing that would pose a barrier to us getting compliance. Is there anything needed from council at this time? No further support is needed from council at this time. I certainly do want to express my appreciation to Perth South Council, especially members on the Fire Advisory Committee for the support with training, not just since the regulation has come in, but we've been a big proponent of training all along. So certainly appreciate that. I put some numbers together quickly for council. The Shakespeare Station, 20 of 22 firefighters are fully certified. Severnville, 18 of 22 firefighters are fully certified, and Milverton, 19 of 23 firefighters are certified, which puts us right around 86% compliance. Like I said, we do have some courses going on right now. We've actually got some testing scheduled for November 8th. So we're definitely anticipating those numbers to continue to rise. So just to quickly summarize, the Perth East Fire Department is well positioned to meet the expectations as set out by ORA 343, and I'll certainly be able to answer any questions from members of council.
Any questions for Chief Hunter? Did you want to mention fire safety?
We certainly, yes. This is Fire Prevention Week. The topic for this week is charged into safety. It's about lithium ion battery safety around the home, around the farm, around the business. Open houses every night. We started last night in Milverton. Tonight is Mitchell. Wednesday night was Shakespeare, and Thursday night is in Severnville. 6 to 8 o'clock, firefighters will be barbecuing hot dogs, so skip dinner and come down to the fire station. We'd love to see anybody and everybody there. They'll have some demonstrations and lots of good fire safety information to hand out. And I just want to put an extra plug in for the Battle of the Badges. So Perth County firefighters are taking on the Perth County OPP on Sunday, October 19th. We're going to be playing at the Perk in Milverton. 12:30 is a free skate for an hour, and then hockey games at 1:30, and then hopefully fire has retaken possession of the trophy from the top. But definitely come on out and enjoy some fun that afternoon as well.
Councilor Corbin?
Your prevention officer, is that yourself?
No, we have a full-time fire prevention officer, full-time admin assistant, who's also a public educator, and who is also being certified as a fire prevention officer, plus myself.
You come, fire prevention, you come in Perth South.
Yes, so
How far in, like,
the fire area that Severnville would cover,
yeah,
that entire area gets the same level of education and enforcement.
so that's commercial, industrial, all inspected and.
We do requests based on, or we do inspections based on request for complaint. So our current direction is if somebody calls and complains, if somebody calls and asks for an inspection, those two occurrences, we would certainly come and do the inspection. Mandatory inspections are typically limited to municipal owned buildings. If council wanted more inspections, they could certainly give us that direction.
Two things if I may. Could we get a monthly or quarterly report on fire prevention officers inspections in Perth South? And also, I'm sure you've heard about the proposed subdivision in Severnville. Do you foresee any issues, and I know it's early, do you foresee any issues with fire prevention and response from the Severnville subdivision for that new subdivision?
Without knowing what the final concept would be, we would look at whatever was approved by council and make sure that our education, prevention, and response covered whatever was ended up being built in there. We do, risk assessments, all the time, where it's a ever evolving event. So when a new business or a new subdivision, or anything, new happens, we will evaluate it to make sure that we're able to provide the services that are required, but are also, whatever's been laid out by council. We certainly work within, that umbrella of, rules that council sets out for us. But, yeah, whatever the final decision is, we would make sure that the department would be able to cover it.
Counselor Vanessa?
Just carrying on with that, the fire department have any input on the site plan? The proposed site plan?
We would look at, fire access roads, access to buildings. A lot of that would be covered, through your building department and planning. Yeah, we typically, get requested to look, to make sure the fire access roads are compliant.
All right, thank you.
Counselor Jeffel?
Just jumping back to Fire Safety Week. My daughters are students at Downey, and I got a wonderful email on Friday listing everything about Fire Safety Week, all locations, so I was really glad to see that come out
Good.
through the school system as well.
Great, thank you.
Counselor Crowe?
One more question, in all your stations, what would be the longest response time? Like, I don't know your stations in the area, but. Like, how, I know the shorter the response time, the better, but what's the longest response time that you would have?
Yeah, the longest response time, I can tell you what our average response time is, if that would help. Our average response time is about 12 minutes. From, any of the stations to any of the alarms over the course of a year. For a volunteer station, your response times are gonna change, so the stations aren't staffed. So during the daytime, your response, people have to maybe travel a little bit further to get to the fire station. Whereas, say a call at 3 o'clock in the morning, everybody's at home, we can get to the stations and get out, quicker. But on average, it is 12 minutes, which is, well within the, time standards for a rural community.
What would the standards be?
So typically, it's 8 firefighters within 14 minutes. And we're in the 11 to 12 firefighters within 12 minutes. So we're better than the standard.
All right.
Any further questions for Chief Hunter? Seeing none, I have a recommendation that the council of the township of Perth South proceed with the Port and firefighter certification over at 343 update. And the Perth East Fire Joint Advisory Committee 2025 0-10 dated September 2nd, 2025 be prepared by the township of Perth East Manager, Fire Services and Fire Chief for the information. Moved by Council Corby, second by Deputy Mayor William, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Chief.
Great.
I certainly appreciate you coming out. I think it's effective use of your time, and I do appreciate all that you do for us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Any time, I'm more than happy to come down. Beautiful day for a drive. I might have a different tune in January. Thank you.
We're at 7.2, Seabach and Company for our first site 2024 audited finances.
Morning. When I was kind of reviewing for the meeting, I realized last year I didn't make the meeting, and I got really sick. I was in the hospital with pneumonia, so I feel a lot better this year than last year. So I do apologize for not attending last year. This year, the report is very similar to prior years. There's a 2-page summary that has 5-year detail, etc. And then there's the full audited financial statements. We do a bit of consolidation other than what you would normally see from your reports. We've taken your share of the Clifton Woodland Community Center and swimming pool, which is 50%. And your share of the Lucan Fire Department, which is 49%. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference. It adds $257,000 to your bank because you take their share. Increases revenue by 55,000 and expenses 51,000, so increases your bottom line by 4,000. So not a huge effect there. As far as the audit, this year we got to work with Tracy. That was nice. We all met her. We were here the first week September 15th. We were here for the week. And the audit went well. So thank Tracy for all that. After our audit, we're issuing, if you look at the auditor's report, it's a clean audit report. We can report to council that, we didn't encounter any difficulties, that we would report to, there's no disagreements over accounting policies or anything, or we didn't come across any transactions, unusual, any journal entries or anything other than a normal routine, your business. So that's all good. When we look at the financial statements, it shows a surplus of 836,000. Last year's 1.1 million. Each year I try to explain that we calculate your record is a little different. We have to do it by accounting standards or by the province, where your budget is more on a cash basis because the biggest item would be like depreciation for capital assets. When you're in your budget, you have to raise enough money to pay for your capital assets, where we just depreciate them each year. So last year you spent about 2.2 million on capital assets, and depreciation was quite a bit less than that. So that makes the income higher. Also, we don't show reserve transfers. Last year you transferred 560,000 into reserves, and we don't show that as an expense where you would. So when you take the numbers, and we use the same, accounting records and everything, we bring that back here, surplus is much less than the 800,000. It's just important that, when users of the financial statements, taxpayers, etc., look at it, they say, oh, 836,000, why are taxes so high? When in reality, at the cash basis, it's much lower. The statements are important because this, with your FIR, the audited statements and your FIR is what goes to the province, and that's how they see you. A few of the highlights of financial statements, as I said, you spent 2.1 million on capital. Had budgeted 2.9. There were some things in the year you didn't do. You budgeted to buy a tandem truck, do some work at the St. Paul's water system, some work at the Downey landfill site. You didn't complete all the landfill for paving. You did add some paving projects on road 137, 115, with 600,000. So what that means, if you didn't spend all your capital, you end up not with higher reserves and more money in the bank account, and then you'll do those projects more than likely in this year, 2025. At the end of the year, your reserve for $9.3 million, they increased 561,000. You had budgeted them to go down a bit, but because you didn't do all the capital projects like the truck, etc., you didn't have to take that money out of reserves. And a really good thing about your municipality, you don't have any debt. You didn't have to finance any of your capital with debt. And when you look at the financial statements, it shows a debt of municipal debt, 147,000. But those are all tile drain loans, so there's a receivable for that and an equal liability, so they cancel it, but really have no debt. The first page of the 2-page report is basically your balance sheet. So at the end of the year, your bank balance was $10 million, and you look at it and say, oh, it's actually down from last year. Why would my bank be down if you told me you have 860,000 surplus? When you look at your accounts receivable, they're higher. So at the end of the year, more people will do money. A lot of that is tied up in municipal drains. And also at the end of the year, your payables were lower, so you owe people less money. Last year, in 2023, there was for bridge work, you owed Stratford 500,000. So when that was paid out in 2024, that reduces your bank. That's why your bank's lower. Taxes receivable are well within the range, 4%. Receivables, I said, are up higher, some of that's HST and a lot of that is just drain work that's been not completed at the end of December and it's still waiting to be billed. Long-term receivables, that's the tile drain loans, where people borrow money from you, but then you borrow the money from the province, so you see the 145 is the same as the municipal debt. Other current assets, prepaid expenses, basically things you paid in 2024 that you won't use in 25. So $13.8 million of current assets, very similar to last year. Things you owed, your payables are lower, as I said, in end of 23, you owed Stratford 500,000 for bridge work, done bridge work. You didn't have that this year. One thing I always try to explain is the asset retirement obligation, 502,000. The problem makes us set up an amount. They're saying you would need $502,000 today is the present value to fund your landfill closures and the future landfill closure. So you have two landfill sites, the Downey site's closed. The liability set up for that is 281,000 and the Blanchard site has a long life, so it's lower 221. So in reality, when those things happen and when you're, you're financing the Downey costs, they're basically just out of your budget. So, but we're obligated to put that number in to let users of the statements know that there is a liability. When you have landfill sites, it's going to cost something to deal with them when you close them. Municipal debt we've spoken about, so $1.7 million of liabilities, third liabilities. So your net financial assets, basically the money you get your hand on to do things, increased 400,000 from 11.7 million to 12.1 million. The next page is your financial statement. I won't go through all of it, just highlight some things. One thing you're very aware of is your UMF grant. 2020 it was 700,000, now it's 416,000. Forces basically you're dumping that lower income onto your taxpayers, because you have to raise the money from somewhere. I guess the only good thing is it seems to have stabilized a bit. The gas tax grant, that's funds that are used for road. Other capital grants is your Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, that's for roads, 469. Other government grants, your federal student grant and a library grant, 12,000. As you know, each year we receive a boundary adjustment for 797,000. If you look at it, you don't get to keep all that. If you look below the second line of expenses, boundary adjustment agreement with Perth County, you have to give the county their share, 141,000, so you get to keep the net. The user fees. One thing that stands out because of consolidation is recreation. When you budget, you just budget your actual cost. And then we have to show the your share of the revenue. So it shows 108 versus 50, but it's very similar for the expenses. We have to show the gross up expenses, so they're higher than budgeted also. One thing that's been positive is your investment income. Interest rates been higher, 464,000. The other is you had some equipment sales, loader, trucks, some of your older lawnmowers, so that added in 78,000. So your total revenue was almost 8 million, 7.9 million, a little higher than budgeted. And then all your expenses are pretty close to what was budgeted. So on a cash basis, if you were to show your transfers and also the capital, your surplus is a lot lower. But when we add back depreciation and subtract, you end up with the lower expenses, then you end up with $836,000 surplus. As far as the full financial statements, just a few things. There is last year, the way you page management responsibilities, that's another thing that's required. It just shows that management is responsible for financial statements, internal controls, and we're independent as auditors. It's the auditors report, so they're basically the same thing. If you do look at the consolidated statement of operations, it shows the same $836,000 surplus as my summary. The statement of cash flows explains why your bank went from 1.1 million to 10 million. And the biggest items are the increase in receivables and the decrease in payables. We've discussed that. Talks about what's consolidated, the fire board and community center with swimming pool. There is a note on asset retirement obligations explaining 502,000. There's a note about municipal debt, which is basically just the tile drain loans. And then, important schedule is the reserves. It shows that the reserves went up from 8.8 million to 9.3. Part of that is you didn't do all your capital work. So you ended up, so I would say at the end of the year, you ended up with a surplus, stronger financial position by 400,000. Your reserves were still strong. Does anybody have any question?
That's recorded.
Just one question in revenue, provincial offenses, act revenue, was 52,796, it's up. It's up quite a bit from other years, is that Stratford Police?
You wanna answer?
Yeah, apparently, in 24, there were some large, fines levied through the county. And so, Perth South got a portion of that, Department of Labor fines, et cetera.
Don't get used to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for the auditor? Got off easy.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll have a recommendation here that the Township of Perth South 2024 audited financial statements prepared by Seabob and Company be accepted as circulated. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Venice. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We're at 7.3, Ontario Clean Water Agency. Anton, you are up for your second quarter operation on the hook. Thank you very much.
Good morning, worship council in attendance. I'm here to fill you in on the 2025 second quarter results of the wastewater or water operations for St. Paul's, Sebringville, and the Kirkland Community Center. There were several compliance issues in the second quarter of this year, one non-compliance for a missed residual reading, 3 adverse water quality incidents that did not result in any boil water advisories. Reg 170 requires 2 samples to be taken each week and analyzed for the chlorine residual that's in the water. Between April 6th to 12th, 1 residual was not taken or not required or not recorded. This is because St. Paul's and Sebringville share a sign-off sheet as to when the work is done, somebody has to sign it off, then it's checked. They now have separate sheets, so it's not gonna double up again. June 12th in Sebringville, a faulty chlorine pump caused chlorine residuals to drop for approximately 20 minutes. The pump was taken out of service. We didn't realize the pump controller on a power failure would reset and allow the pump to come back on. The pump was taken out of service. And the controller reset even when the pump was unplugged. So we've run power to the pumps. They're on an uninterruptible power supply now. So the controller should never be without power again. It should not happen again. For the operational summary, the alarm summary for the second quarter shows 9 and 25 alarms respectively for Sebringville and St. Paul's. This is a big increase from the 1 and 2 of the previous quarter. So now partially this is due to increased calls, but partially this is because now we're reporting the calls that happened in working hours. It wasn't really a real metric that we were giving you before when we would say you only got 1 alarm, right? Because if it happened between 7 and 4, we weren't telling you, we were just going and kind of fixing the issue and then putting it back into service, right? So some of these alarms are over and above what is normal because we had issues, but some of it is simply, we're trying to give you a better overall view of how many alarms we actually get from these systems. Because I think in the past, traditionally, it would seem very low when you say you get 3. So that's like 1 a month, right? Well, it's not really that accurate. So, in St. Paul's, we have numerous chlorine issues, mostly to do with chlorine analyzer unit. Chlorine probes are good for usually between 4 to 6 years. These units are now 4 years old. The one in Sebringville seems fine, seems to be working well. When the chlorine goes up and down, it's dialed in now so that usually our handheld unit agrees within 0.05, so it doesn't need to be offset. St. Paul's one seems to be developing a bit of a memory. So if most of the time the chlorine residual is say 1.2 here, even if you offset it, it will gradually come back to that 1.2 value. It may be a function because we use sodium silicate here where we don't in Sebringville. Coats the tip of the probe, it accelerates the end of life. The new one is on order. Many of the colos we had to do were low UV or chlorine issues in Sebringville. We talked last meeting about how the Sebringville well is producing small stones. The small stones collect in the flow restrictors of the UV units, causing the flow to drop. This means there's less water, so the chlorine dose is higher, right? So a lot of these are high chlorines. We come out, there's an issue. We do have next week, actually, on October 14th, we're handing out notices today in Sebringville. Ken is aware that we're going to do some camera work. So we're gonna have to take the well offline. There'll be a water truck that supplies water for the day. We're gonna run a camera down. We're gonna see, we're gonna hopefully find out what's producing the small stones. We're gonna figure out what the issue is. We do have a filter that we can install ahead of the UV units that should collect the stones, and it should stop the issues, because we can clean the filter without taking anything offline, and it'll keep everything out of the UV units. I know there's some concerns in Sebringville about the well and how it may have been affected by the test well for the new subdivision. Just in case anybody was gonna ask the question, we did have 1 or 2 calls before this spaced out over a couple of years where we collected these stones before that test well was drilled. So as far as I know, there's no connection. Some of the callouts in both places have to do with the UV units themselves and the maintenance necessary. We just recently found out that the HALA 30 is the unit that you guys have. It's now considered obsolete. So I checked with the suppliers. There are some parts that are still floating around. We can still get lamps, ballasts, and UV sensors reliably, so we're not in bad shape there. We've sourced some parts from another project, so we still have some spares. We've built a complete shelf spare, so if there is a problem with one of these units, we've got one sitting on a shelf that we can simply remove the faulty unit, put in the spare, get everything back in service. But part of the major maintenance recommendations this year is going to be looking at what possibilities there are for replacing the UVs. And there are a couple of pretty good options that can save you money, can lead to some redundancy. So yeah, all sample results were within limits for the second quarter, and there have been no community concerns received in 2025 by so far. So, do you have any questions for anyone about the actual report?
Any questions, Dan? Councilor Minutes?
Those repairs to the UV and that was they were already in the Watson report. I would assume the costs of replacing the UV and all that.
Oh, yeah,
That was all part of that Watson report we received.
just now?
Well, a month of last meeting, we received it, and they had said at the time, all the numbers they used had come from Aqua. So I assume those repairs that you mentioned are already in the report.
No, because we just found out about these, the UV being out of production. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, so I don't think that would have been included in that report then. Okay, It was-
If you could check that for us.
yeah, it was the Watson report, was it?
Go ahead.
We would have used whatever you supplied Ken with for capital going forward. So if that was not in your capital going forward, it would not have been in the Watson report, it would be an additional expense. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure what Ken gave Watson from.
it would have been last year's
Last
major
year
maintenance
capital, so-
recommendation.
Yeah,
This
so-
year's isn't due quite yet.
So that would have been something new you found since your last capital update. So it
Absolutely.
Probably was not in the Watson report as an expense that's.
Yeah.
And then also, on the Seaman, or the St. Paul's water system here. In your notes here, you mentioned from, May 19th to May 22nd. There were calls every day for low flow pressure event, heavy water usage.
Yes.
So was somebody filling a pool? And the question I have then is, then you get to page 215 and it talks about the water performance assessment. And there's no report in there saying that there was heavy usage.
Okay, so it's, yeah, we covered this a little bit last time, so the way the water usage is reported is a function of the total allowable per day.
Correct.
So what we're seeing is, there's a lot of usage between 10 o'clock at night and about 4 in the morning. So I can't swear to what the usage is,
Well,
but
it says here, the report says the full morning, we're at 6% of capacity.
that is,
So if we're doubling that in the evening, we're still only at 10 to 12%.
that's true.
20%, like I'm trying to understand why heavy water usage is a problem.
Yep.
So we're only at 20% of the capacity.
So the report takes the average of the entire year up to this point. So it counts in January, February, March when nobody's using any water. Then May, June and July, there's more usage. It's really not, we're in no danger of running out of water for the well.
Right.
It's how much water people are taking within those hours versus how much the well can put out. So it is specifically an issue between 10 at night and 4 in the morning. If you have, say, 6 or 8 people with irrigation systems, and then a couple people filling the pool, a well that makes 2.5, 2.6, maybe 3 liters a second, they can eat that up pretty quickly. So what we're seeing is the well staying on instead of cycling. It's not, it's heavy usage considering, the size of the system and the well capacity as it is, specifically for those times. Overall, you have more than enough water for that system. If the flow is restricted though, the two of those things added together becomes an issue as well. So I can get you the actual, because I did work this out with Sawyer, our PCP, and we figured out what the actual capacity usage was during those times. But I can.
Well, yeah,
certainly
the
get
reason
them,
I'm
right?
asking is, page, what's this, page 9 of the report.
Yep.
You know, some daily flow, for each month, I mean, we're looking at 60 cubic meters. Right, and we're allowed the pump can do 300 liters. So we're still only at 20%, so I'm trying to figure out where that capacity, why we're reaching that limit,
Yeah,
and it's not recorded here.
yeah.
And if it is, if it's recorded deal, then I guess where I'm going is, people filling pools, is that something we should not allow out of our system? It makes no sense to me why we're doing that. We're allowing it.
Yeah, so
I mean,
that's,
because we're not on a user pay.
mhm,
If we had meters, it's totally different. You pay for your pool. But I mean, lots of municipalities do not allow it, and they actually have to truck water in to fill the pools.
that is totally true.
Right? Is that something you would be recommending for the St. Paul system and the Searingville system?
It's something that we've talked about recommending. We would have to get the numbers and give it back to you. The advantages for somebody who's filling their pool in the backyard is the water's already treated, it already has a chlorine residual.
Yeah.
So basically you just fill it up, you add some more of your own shock and you're good to go.
I think the biggest advantage is your neighbors are paying for that.
Yeah, it's, everybody's paying for all of it, right? So the more you use, essentially the more you're getting for free. Studies have shown that the quickest way to get people to be more conscious of water use is water meters. I don't know that it makes sense, considering the size of the systems here, to have somebody come out and read, maybe 40 homes in each place. But, watering restrictions are certainly not a bad idea. Like, that was more the route we were thinking. Instead of saying no filling pools, you would say, okay, if you have an odd number at home, you get to water on this day. If you live on the north side of the street or the south side of the street, so you could conceivably divide it up into 4 different days where somebody has an opportunity to fill a pool, and it doesn't have to be all night. But you can pretty much see when people turn their automated water usage on and off.
Would you be able to come back with this maximum flow per day?
Mhm.
Also some recommendations for council
Absolutely.
restrictions?
Yeah. No, we've discussed it already. Yeah. No, absolutely, we can.
Any other questions for Anton? I think Anton's coming back and then moving yourself.
Oh, yes. Contract is up for renewal at the end of the year. Susan, was going to be here with me, but she had an emergency. I think she was gonna open with a few things, but, that's been pushed off for a month until next one, and then probably by then, I'm hoping that we'll have the third court report ready to go. So, if it's not too busy of a meeting, we might double up, do 2 things at once.
All right, I have a recommendation that the 2025 second quarter operational report for the St. Paul's drinking water system, the Rock Creek water system, and Perkin River small drinking water system be received for information. Moved by Councilor Mark Bell, second by Councilor Vanessa. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Anton.
All right. And I just like to say, I do appreciate your comments and your questions, because they are things that we've discussed. It's a good reminder for me, and it actually helps us long term as well. Because if there is a restriction, your willingness to work with us is definitely appreciated. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
All right, you're at 7.4. Haley, would you like to come? Haley? We have application of the consent.
Good morning, Mayor and Councilors. I'll be presenting consent application B 43-25 for a farm split located at 4670 line 26 in the township of First Sub. Once you get it, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. The application for consent proposes to sever the subject lands to reestablish 2 farm parcels that were merged inadvertently. Both the severed and retained parcels meet the minimum lot size and frontage requirements for agricultural use and are intended to remain in agricultural production. No new residential lots are being created, and the proposed severance does not result in the fragmentation of viable farmland or conflict with the surrounding agricultural uses. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, which permits lot adjustments in prime agricultural areas for legal or technical reasons such as this. It also conforms to the policies of the county official plan, which supports the long-term protection and viability of agricultural lands and discourages the unnecessary division of farm parcels for non-farm uses. The severance will maintain the agricultural use of both parcels, preserve the flexibility for future farm operations, and meets both provincial and county planning policy objectives. Staff recommend approval of the application subject to the recommended conditions. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Haley regarding the cost cap on farm limited? Councilor.
I have a question. On your map here, it doesn't show it very clear. Those 2 farms were merged. Do they not come to a point at the corner post, or is there some overlap?
Through the chair, there is a small corner. If you zoomed in on the map, it's hard to see on there, but there is a part where they do overlap.
Distance of that?
I don't, I probably did.
Now, the reason I ask is it used to be, this is old timer, if it was more, if it was less than the width of a horse, it was considered a clump. If you couldn't walk a horse through, it was considered not a joint.
Okay, I think it's more than a horse. It's 21.25 meters. Yes.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of horses.
Big horse. So that was just put that was registered, that was in everyone put together.
Through the chair, yes, that was on the lawyer's end.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I have a recommendation that the Township of Perth Council advise the Land Division Committee or its delegated authority that the Township of Perth supports application file B 43-25 submitted by Cost Camp Family Farms Limited for lands described as Downey Concession 6, Part Lot 17, and Registered Plan 44R-6140, Part 2, municipally known as 4670, Line 26, subject to the conditions listed in the report dated October 7th, 2025. Moved by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, seconded by Councillor Corby. All those in favor? Carried. The floor is yours again, Neely.
So thank you. I'll be presenting consent application B 44-25 for surplus farm dwelling severance located at 3321 Road 140 in the Township of Perth. Next slide, please. The subject application proposes to sever a surplus farm dwelling that will result in a farm consolidation with a farming operation owned by Shane and Josie Aarons. The application is proposing to sever a residential lot that is approximately 0.61 hectares in area and contains a single detached dwelling, a private well, and septic. The lands to be retained are approximately 19.59 hectares in area and are vacant and will be continued to be used for agricultural purposes. A condition of the consent has been included that will impose restrictions on future permitted uses of the severed and retained lands through adoption of a required zoning bylaw amendment. The condition requiring a ZBA has been recommended to satisfy the requirements of the 2024 PPS and the County of Perth official plan. In light of the foregoing, staff are supportive of the proposed severance and are of the opinion that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement and conforms with the County of Perth official plan, subject to the recommended conditions of consent approval being fulfilled. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Haley? Councillor Martin?
Perhaps this is a silly question, but on the graphic here, the box seems shifted from what appears to be the tree.
So through the chair, our GIS mapping isn't accurate, so sometimes they shift a bit, but we do get surveys done to make sure that they're accurate in that location. Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions for Haley? Seeing none, I have a recommendation that the Township of Perth South Council advise the Land Division Committee or its delegated authority. The Township of Perth South supports application file B 44-25 submitted by Shane and Josie Aarons for lands described as concession 7, part lot 25, municipally known as 3321 Road 140, subject to the conditions listed in the report dated October 7th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Jeff Bell, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
Laura, you have the floor now to go over the approved Perth County official plan.
Good morning, members of council. Oh gosh, good morning, members of council. That's how I wanted to start it. I'm here before you to present the approved official plan. We received minister approval of the official plan just a couple of weeks back. So I'm here just to summarize the changes that came as a result of that approval. Next slide. So the project timeline, I just wanted to give a quick background of kind of how we got to where we are today. Previous official plan, it was drafted in 1990, was much outdated with policies we are seeing before us today. So a review began in 2018 of the official plan, and then in October 2024, the official plan with text and schedules was approved by County Council and was then forwarded on to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing for minister's approval, as under the Planning Act, the minister is the final approval authority of that county official plan. And then on September 12th of 2025, not too long ago, we received formal notice from the ministry that the minister had approved the official plan with 79 modifications. So next slide. So the 79 modifications that were made, they follow a number of themes, and I've broken them out to you, for you today. Also in the report before you, they are broken out in these themes as well. But accompanying the report, there is a modifications matrix. If you did want to go through kind of line by line of the omissions, deletions, and the additions that were made by the minister. It's in the attachments in your report. But I'll go to the next slide and just start with the themes. So the first theme you'll see is there's site-specific policy inclusions that were made by the minister. So official plan amendments were approved by local councils, that being North Perth and West Perth, as well as county council from the time of county council approval of the official plan in October until now. So we wanted to make sure that those decisions were carried forward into the plan that's now in effect. So some site-specific modifications were made as well. Next slide. There were also some modifications made to the agriculture sections of the official plan. Specifically some clarifications on permissions within the agricultural area to ensure that fertile land and agricultural uses are protected for the long term. So we had some terminology changes. There was also terminology modifications for additional farm worker housing. It's now called housing for farm workers, excuse me. And the permissions for these uses are in alignment now with the provincial planning statement, including those uses needing to be located within established farm clusters, as well as those uses or those dwellings not being able to be severed or converted into separate lots. There was further clarifications made to the policies on where farm-related commercial and industrial uses are able to be located, as well as a removal of permissions for accessory dwelling units to be permitted on farm-related commercial and industrial uses, limiting those additional dwelling units specifically for agricultural uses. There were some further expansions into what does it say here? Sorry. Lots of changes, but I want to make sure that I'm clearly depicting them. Oh, of course. There was restrictions on the expansions of non-agricultural uses in the agricultural area, and this also is included for existing historical non-agricultural uses. There's now going to be an agricultural impact assessment required for these uses to expand, and that's in keeping with the overall policies of the provincial planning statement that look to not only protect agricultural uses, but also to protect the entire agri-food network across the province. And then finally, there were further restrictions placed on lot creation within the agricultural designation, specifically discouraging lot creation in prime agricultural areas and not permitting it for non-farm lots. And then finally, the minimization of surplus farm dwelling severances, as well as the requirement for those severances to comply with MDS calculations. Next slide. The next theme surrounds mineral aggregate expansion. There were some modifications made to allow for mineral aggregates to be permitted as an interim use in the agricultural designation. This is in line with existing permissions that already are permitted in the provincial planning statement and were also previously permitted in the previous provincial policy statement. There was also some clarifications on how we are to be protecting aggregate resources from development, as well as some expansions to permissions for agricultural impact assessments for those aggregate resource uses. Next slide. Next theme follows servicing and growth requirements. So there's a statement that was added into the official plan that was directly taken from section 214B of the PPS that just looks at ensuring there is a sufficient supply of serviced and suitably zoned land for residential uses for a three-year term. And then there was also further guidance provided for how to appropriately plan for stormwater management. Next slide. So the next two slides, and I'll just briefly run through them here, they were just modifications made, and I would consider them administrative in nature. Just ensuring that there was appropriate references done to different acts and terminology uses, alignment of our policies with what's directly stated in provincial policy. And then if you go to the next slide, there was also some replacement of direct terminology to certain ministries or certain acts and legislation. It was just clarified to be the province, hoping that we don't have to do future amendments every time a ministry changes name. So that'll help us there. And then the next slide focuses on what I would consider one of the main focuses of modification, and this was done to the natural heritage system. So I want to clarify that the text itself wasn't changed, the intentions behind the policies that existed for what was previously referred to as the natural environment designation, they have not changed. It's just how we're currently illustrating that within our schedules and our mapping. So the big change, as I already alluded to, the previously referred to natural environment designation, it's now called natural heritage, and this is in line with what it's called in the provincial planning statement. And then further, there was a division of this designation into a designation and an overlay. So the designation now solely exists within settlement areas, and then outside of settlement areas, you'll see it as an overlay, indicating that the agricultural designation is the underlying designation, and then the overlay exists kind of on top of that. And there's some mapping examples that I have on the following slide, and we'll go through that as well. There was further clarification on what are permitted uses in this designation and in the overlay. There was an expansion of adjacent lands. This is in keeping with provincial policy. And then this, the other references you'll see on the screen there, it really was just verbatim word changes from natural environment to natural heritage in the subsequent sections of the official plan. Next slide. So as promised, here's the two schedules changes that you'll see, and these are just two examples for you. But I know it's quite small, but and that blue is not great against that green. But adjacent to that blue floodplain designation, there is a green, solid green designation within the settlement area that you can see there. And then on your the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a zoomed out version of the Perth South land use designations. And you'll see that overarching outside of settlement areas, it is white, that indicates it's agricultural land, with that hatched green overlay showing where the natural heritage features overlay exists now. Next slide. The minister also had the addition or the intention to further delineate or illustrate why properties are located within the either the natural heritage designation or within the natural heritage features overlay. And due to that, there was the addition of a new Schedule D and a Schedule E. So Schedule D illustrates the location of provincially significant natural heritage features. These could include, wetlands, woodlands, ANSIs, and then there's also the adjacent lands that are located on those maps as well. And then Schedule E, similarly, but it's just for the location of regionally significant features. So those two new schedules are now located within the official plan. Next slide. So that concludes the summary of modifications you see before you. As I said, because the modifications were made to the previously natural environment, now natural heritage, all the schedule titles had to change, and all the additions of Schedule D and Schedule E. So the majority of changes were just making those terminology changes and making sure that they were updated. The official plan as well as the schedules are now located on the county website. The modifications have been incorporated and it's now in effect and can be found at that link there. And just something to note is that because the minister is the final approval authority for the official plan, it's not able to be appealed and it's now considered final and in effect. I'm now happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Any questions from Laura? Councilor Dennis.
There are a few. I was looking here on what we received, the Perth County fish plan matrix, and there was, I believe there was 70 different changes there. Number 3 here, it talks about a 3-year land supply that municipalities have to have. Does that include Perth South?
So that's correct. It speaks to maintaining where new development should occur, that there's servicing capacity sufficient to provide at least 3-year supply. So that then turns to the sections of the official plan that speak to servicing capacity. So it's looking at prioritizing development within areas that are fully serviced, and then when municipal services don't exist, prioritizing development in communal private services. And then tertiary would be the prioritization of individual private septic development.
Okay, thank you. Number 18 was aggregate protection. It talks about aggregate protection. Does that also include the ability of new aggregate supplies to be opened? We have a lot of, we're short of gravel for south and certainly this part of Ontario. And every time a new pit comes up, it seems to take 5 to 10 years to actually try and open that up. Is there anything to speed that up?
Through the mayor, that is what this intention of that policy does. There was a clarification that it shouldn't just, the official plan shouldn't just protect existing aggregate with a license. There should also be the protection of all aggregate resources in the county. So there is a schedule or an appendices of the official plan that shows where those resources are. And through development or future development applications, our planning staff will be requiring those constituents or those development applications to identify whether they will be having an impact on the long-term access to those resources. Say if there wasn't a pit there now, could a pit or those resources be accessed in the future?
Yeah, thank you. And then number 37, I think. Can't recall, 30 and 37. But Paul, there's a talks about municipal plan on the agriculture section. It talks about municipal drains. And there's some comments in there about municipal drains possibly trying to avoid natural heritage lands. If they have no option but to go through natural heritage lands, is that still a vote?
Through the mayor, I want to make sure I have my notes. I know we corresponded previously. So the clarification, if you look to, yes, there is section 37. There's a comment made also in number 23 of the matrices, and it does speak to that infrastructure is well encouraged to be located outside of natural heritage features. It is recognized that in instances that's not possible, and it is they are exempt, or municipal infrastructure, including drains, are exempt from the policies of the natural heritage section.
Okay, thank you. And one final question. The very last slide you had, there was provincially significant national heritage sites and regional sites. What's the difference?
The provincially significant sites speak to, they meet different criteria, so.
There's not many out there, that's why I asked.
Correct.
At least from this distance, there's not many.
So the regionally significant features, it might be something that, it only, there's only an impact from, I'm just throwing numbers out here, a 1 kilometer radius, let's say, whereas the provincially significant features, they may flow through tertiaries, or there may be source water protection areas located near them. So there might be more of an impact, and it impacts a broader range of people, and has a more impact or benefit to the system as a whole, which is why they're provincially significant versus regionally significant.
I'm just looking at that green map, I'm looking at some of the small bushes that they call provincially significant. I struggle to see how a 3-acre bush is provincially significant, but that's just me. Thank you for your answers. It's much appreciated.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes, on Schedule B, does that show all the extractive resources that are in Perth South, or is it just open pits?
Through the mayor, so the mineral on Schedule D, you'll see there's a mineral aggregate designation. Those are specifically for open pits that exist and open operations which have a license. There's and let me find the exact page for you. If you look to Appendix 1, there's an aggregate resources and petroleum wells appendices, and that shows the entirety of all the resources available, regardless of whether there's a license or a pit on them currently.
Okay, on the mapping, I did not see the Transbell pit. Now, maybe, it's not on there, I don't know, maybe I missed it.
Through the mayor, it's also possible that the mineral aggregate designations are historical in nature and they don't fully capture all the pits that exist to date. And the reason for that is because there was a recent guidance from OMAPA that speaks to not removing land from prime agricultural lands, which includes the designation of pits. So that would be why there was the addition of policies permitting pits as an interim agricultural use. So moving forward, they wouldn't need to apply for an official plan amendment to change their designation on the official plan. They would just be permitted as of right in the agricultural area, so long as they meet the interim use policies of the PPS and they return the pit to agricultural functioning lands following extraction.
Any further questions, Councilor Arthur?
Just to drill down on the, unintended, the mineral extraction. When you say protected, what do you mean by that?
Through the mayor, the protected means that they are identified and should a development that isn't consistent with agricultural uses be proposed, then we would be looking to see if that would have long-term impacts on the ability to extract that material. Kind of building upon what Councillor Van Ness was speaking to, that there are these resources that are needed to access gravel reserves and build roadways, and needing to balance the ability to access those resources on a long term with whatever development proposals are before us today. And ensuring that there's not going to be long-term impacts if we permit a arena to be built on top of a prime aggregate resource, that, that arena is gonna be located there for 50 years. And is there gonna be an impact to that? So it's not saying that arena can't go there, it's just saying that there will be an additional study needing to be required to ensure that those resources can still be accessed when they are needed to build new roads and access those gravel deposits.
On your first page, it says the population is to grow to 60,000. By 2046 or something like that. But on the county website, it's at or just short of 82,000. That might just be an administrative thing, but what is our population? And it says it's gonna grow to 60,000, but we're already at 82. Which number am I supposed to, which number are you?
So through the mayor, the intention was to grow, it's in addition to, and the population projections that are shown in the report and were based on the official plan are done through the comprehensive review that was done. I believe it's 2023. I'm looking at Andrea to try and confirm that number for me, as I wasn't here during that time. Yes, so 2023 numbers indicated that, but we are also now required to use the Ministry of Finance numbers that are released annually, so that number might change on an annual basis. So that number that's provided to you was what this plan was based off of. But there's also ability to kind of consider additional growth should that be what the province is anticipating.
So we're growing. You're projecting 60,000 more residents by 2046?
Correct, yes. And that's across the county.
Okay.
Any further questions? Councilor?
On 70 here, where we have the wood lots and then the adjacent lands that surround it. Does that impact any of the current uses?
There's no impact to the current uses. The adjacent lands and the woodlots, doesn't impact agricultural uses, and I wanna make sure that I have the specific sections that you can reference for that. I have them here, apologies. You're looking at section 37, 37.53, and then 37.54, clarifies what. Sorry, I'll repeat that for you. Section 37, paragraph 2, and then section 3.7, excuse me, section 3.7.5.3F. Then section 3.7.5.4 speaks to what permitted uses are. The adjacent lands, it's a requirement when we get any type of application before us, that's not considered exempt under those policies. We would just be ensuring that there would be no impact, as it's required under the PPS that no negative impact be shown, be illustrated for those natural heritage features when development does occur. So that's just what we'd be looking for with those applications.
When you spoke to 120 meters, is that greater than it currently was, or that's the total?
The changes that were made were because we had proposed a reduced adjacent lands than what is. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, we had, I'm trying to find that there, it's gonna spell my memory. So for fish habitat, they had modified it from 100 meters to 120. And then for significant valley lands, they had modified it from 50 meters to 120. So we had tried to, as approved by council, make a reduced adjacent lands, but that wasn't deemed in keeping with provincial policy, so they changed it.
Councilor Murphy?
The, you mentioned a few times about no negative impacts.
Yes.
With any growth, there's negative impacts, so I'm wondering who gets to be the keeper of the negative impact study? Who says that with any, you build a subdivision, you build a barn, you build something, there's always gonna be a negative on something. So I'm wondering who gets to say it?
So through the mayor, there is the applicant would hire a expertise in that field, and they would identify that there would be no negative impacts, or they would identify that there's gonna be mitigation measures undertaken. It's recognizing that, you know, let's say there is going to be an impact by whatever's being built. Maybe there's mitigation measures that can occur on a separate property, or long-term that overall is gonna equate to a negative impact, but it would be based on the expertise of a ecologist or like-minded person would be signing off on that study and getting that approval.
So it sounds like more money for the applicant is what that sounds like to me. So if someone brings a proposal, it's just get a report, get some expert to tell you that it's gonna be mitigated. But that's my personal opinion on that, but. So I share it.
Any other questions regarding the official plan? Go ahead.
Just looking here, appendix 1 on the aggregates, and I apologize for not asking this question earlier. I'm only looking at the first south one. I'm sure there's lots of aggregate, smaller supplies throughout the county. Is there no building clause on those, of those? I know in Oxford County, as you get around Beachville, there is simply, you are not allowed to build a house, you're not allowed to build a barn, anything over certain aggregate supplies. So there is no conflict in the future. Do we have that in Perth County?
Through the merit, I have to look into them in more detail. I don't believe we flat out prohibit such. But that's where we were requiring those aggregate impact studies to allow for that flexibility should it say that there's a resource there, but maybe that resource has changed. Is also recognizing that the resources on that map are from, I think they're from 2013. So they could have changed, they could have been depleted, there could have been modifications. So that's why we're requiring that study in advance rather than outright prohibiting it at this point.
Is that something that should be looked into? Like, I know, I had a farm in Oxford County right around Beachville, and we tried to build a barn there. It was flatly outlawed. It's simply not, you're gonna, that property is saved for limestone resource for the next 200 years. And we've eventually sold our property because of that.
Through the mayor, it's definitely something I can look into, and I can also get you further information, back to your question to make sure that you're able to refer to, and I'm appropriately referring to those.
Excellent, thank you for that. And one last question. Will hard copies be available via an official plan?
Through the mayor, we're coming up with a system on how we can ensure that there's updated hard copies available for, anyone who would like it. So hard copies aren't available today, but we're hoping that there will be a subscription service, which means that people who want a hard copy can let us know, and we will regularly provide them with, whenever the official plan is and receives quarterly updates through amendments. Then also there's going to be modifications to it as well as needed, that you have the most up-to-date document for you, and you're not having to refer back to, months old report. So it's a work in progress. We're trying to get that system up and running shortly.
Excellent, thank you.
Any further questions? Go ahead.
Director Eric Happer informed me that the 80,000 that you were referring to, Councillor Bell, is inclusive of Stratford. So that is the growth is.
Stratford and St. Mary, so it's the census division. So that 8,000 reflects the entire census division, whereas Perth County is that 32,000 as of whatever 2021.
Okay.
So it'll be the projected growth is to 62,900 by 2051.
On top of the 82,000?
The 82,000, yes, is what the census division was, yeah, as of 2021.
Okay, so plus 62,000?
Plus, it would be from 42,100 as of 2021 to 62,900.
The 82,000 is inclusive, that number that you were referencing, it's today's growth, today's population, but it includes Stratford and St. Mary's, whereas we're not the planning authority for Stratford and St. Mary's, so they provide their own official plan, their own population projections. So the ones that are before you in the report are just speaking to Perth County, removing Stratford and St. Mary's from the equation.
Okay. That's about as clear as mud, so so let's just take Stratford and St. Mary's out of it. We're gonna grow Perth County by 60,000 people in the next 25 years. Is it?
262,000 people.
Oh, total.
Yeah, 262,000.
Okay, so the 60,000 that's in your report is
Is
total
total,
population.
yes,
For Perth County minus Stratford and St. Mary's.
correct.
Okay, now it's clear. Thanks.
Sorry.
Sorry,
No,
That's
fine,
thank
thanks.
you.
Now we had a long gap from when this was updated. When's the next time it's gonna be updated? 5 years?
So in response to your question, the Planning Act requires that official plans be reviewed every 5 years, and then new official plans can be undertaken every 10. So this official plan is considered a new official plan as it was a significant change from the old one. So a review of it will happen in 10 years' time, but a comprehensive review to assess population projections will happen in 5 years' time.
Any further questions? If not, I have a recommendation that the Perth South Council received the report dated October 7th, 2025, entitled Approved County Official Plan Summary submitted by the County Fire Planning Department for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, seconded by Councilor Corby. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Moira. You really do have a handle on that.
Getting there.
We are at item 8. Reports is almost 11. Does anyone you want to have a 5-minute break? We want to keep on going? What's the wishes? What's up? Pardon?
You should let Martin go for sure.
Martin, you're building official right on enforcement the report. CBO.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Orr, members of the council. We had a busy month in September. 15 new permits were issued, just over 3.7 million in contracted value and over 16,000 permit fees. There was a total of 44 inspections, done, during various stages of, construction. During the last council meeting, council asked for a, review of, year over year, assessment and construction value. We've increased significantly since last year. So residential construction, versus this time last year, it rose from, 4.6 million in 2024, that was at the end of September, to 14 million in 2025. That's a 204% increase. Commercial and industrial sector saw even more dramatic increase of just over 3.5 to over 30 million. So that's by the end of September in 2024, we got 91 permits issued. As of writing this report, we had 118 permits issued. We have a total construction value to date of 56,523,000. I've included a pie chart that shows the various ranges of, it separates the construction value per sector year over year. So, bylaw enforcement, there was one new bylaw enforcement complaint for the month, and there was also one new property standards complaint for the month. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. If you have to answer any questions, we can.
Any questions for Martin? You're doing well. Councilor.
Is that, how do you calculate the value, like the construction value? Is it based just on inflation or is it based on building product costs or?
It's based on, we have to report to Stats Canada, the construction values. So part of the permit application process, the applicant tells us what the value is. So we're taking the applicant's word for how much this project is costing.
Any further questions for Martin? Seeing none, I have a recommendation that CDO update report and receive for information. Councilor Bell, second by Councilor Vanessa. All those in favor? Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have one more.
Share any other news?
One more report.
Right.
So it's for the township office renovation. So the renovation to the front foyer and the reception area was approved as part of the as a capital project for 2025. I've included the preliminary drawing for this project just for an update to council. Once the initial drawings are fine tuned and we're satisfied with the way it looks, it'll go out for RFP. We're hoping to get that project started here late fall or early winter this year. If council, if you have any preferences to expand the scope of the work, like you wanted any other painting done or anything like that, now would be the time to do it before we send it out for RFP and come with a final scope of the project. So I'm not sure if council wanted to paint the council chambers or anything like that. I'm just throwing that out there for.
Any questions? Deputy Mayor?
This is quite an extensive change. How would you plan on getting the logistics for staff to continue to work?
That's a great question. We'll have to make provisions for staff to work through the process. I feel that we can keep the office open and operational throughout the renovation. You know, we may have to double up in some offices, or we'll make it work essentially.
Councilor Rafa?
To that point, do you know how long it'll take? Do you have that ballpark? No, just like from start to finish, like when
I would estimate start to finish probably 2.5 to 3 months, like. I'm assuming they won't be here every day, and just the logistics of getting everybody through. So,
Councilor Corker, did you have one?
Further to Mark's question, you don't want to drag on, can you put anything in the RFP to make sure it stays on schedule and, pushes the contractor to finish his work as he can?
I'm sure we can put timelines on the RFP, with, assuming we can put penalties if they're not done in a certain, allowable time frame. I would maybe, we should leave them enough room that we can get quality work done in a reasonable amount of time.
Councilor,
It feels that in the center core, there, the main office, we're removing 2 big desks and replacing those 4 small, is that correct?
Yes.
So is that included in the cost of, will that be taken out of the budget that we approved for?
The scope of the work, the cost including, office, furniture and that sort of thing as well.
Will there be much other office furniture that will need to be replaced that will no longer work in this?
Not that I'm aware of. We'll have to buy additional office furniture for the new office that's in the front forward.
Can we use one of the middle ones?
We could, yeah, we could.
Thank you.
any further questions, Councilor Jeffo?
With the new meeting room, like I see we're adding an office already, which is great. There's a provision for that to become office in the future if it's required, if staffing needs to increase.
It could, of course, you know, initially, these 2 offices here were a meeting room in this, and they've been changed into 2 offices now, so, we would have the potential to do that. Yeah, the one thing that staff has flagged is that, you know, the new meeting room should probably have a door for the council chambers here. Just, you know, if we have a meeting here, especially during meetings or something, if you have to,
Right.
you know, a breakout room would be, available for that.
Any further questions? If not, I have recommendation that the council receives the township office renovation report as presented. Moved by Councilor Vanessa, second by Councilor Jeffo. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Marshall.
Great, thank you.
Keep on going, everybody. I would appreciate a break too. Very good. To the crowds. Yeah. Next one. Okay, we're back in session. We are at 8.2, Director of Public Works, Ken?
Thank you, Mayor Orr. The first report here for council is on the Kirkland Woodham tract. We had a forest management plan completed on that property. And so that is the document that's attached. Through that management plan, kind of identifies 3 different woodlot type, they're called compartments anyway, areas. So that there's one compartment, it's more of a conifer, mixed woodland, about 22 acres. The second one, compartment 2, is more mixed hardwood, woodland, about 40 acres. And compartment 3 is, more the arboretum area, or what we call the arboretum area, of about 16 acres. So it's taken, through the forest management, there's kind of some different, it's not all consistent type of trees and areas, so it's broken that into the different components. In some of the proposed future activities, it identifies that we could look into getting a harvest completed, you know, maybe in about 5 years, 2030 it says, maybe a commercial harvest for area C2, and a pine, harvest of pine just to thin it out for the benefit of the woodlot for C1. Then it also talks in there about a potential recommendation for a walking bridge across, just to have access into that back part. Me looking at it, I think it might be more beneficial to have like a culvert crossing instead of a pedestrian bridge, just so we have access to get across with other equipment. Talking with Brandon from Spree's just on, you know, an estimated cost, and they've done bridge stuff as well. He figured, you know, it'd be about a similar cost to having a pedestrian bridge as we could get a, what I'll call a farm style agricultural crossing into that back area. So, you know, it's still fairly expensive, about $100,000 of Brandon expected. It's Fish Creek, so it's pretty big water course there. But I just want to get a rough estimate, because it's one of the recommendations there, for council. And GWG Resources did the forest management plan. It's a document that's required, I think, for properties that are get a farm or forest tax class recognition. So it's got a bunch of standard sections within it that's required as part of that, which doesn't necessarily apply to everything we do at the property, but it gives a good overview of what's there. I think we has any questions. I'm trying to use them.
Any questions from council, Sam?
Ken, is that culvert, is that something we could do ourselves, or is it too big?
Well, we don't have a backhoe or an excavator or anything to be able to do that ourselves, so we'd have to hire some help. We could work with a contractor.
Yeah, I just wondered, because we've used Perth County's equipment before. I just wondered if it was a project we could do ourselves, and what kind of approvals will you need from authorities to put a culvert in the river?
Yeah, it would need to have approval from a conservation authority, so we'd have to get Brandon, our engineer, somebody to create, you know, a drawing of what we're doing with the proper sizing based on the watershed. A farm style crossing is the same as a road crossing, so right, so that's why it wouldn't have to meet the same storm or rainfall requirements. But it would have to be, designed and put in, similar to what we do, of farm crossings. Scott and Brandon do those all the time. And get, you know, sizing and a drawing, it's a standard drawing pretty much, and then they can get approval from, you know, DFO and the conservation authority, because that will have, fish habitat too, which generally just limits it to a certain time of year when you have to do the construction as well.
Because we've done culvert work ourselves before. I just wondered if this was a possibility, if we could do it ourselves, but that'd be up to you.
Yeah, we need an excavator, a contractor, and we can work with them for sure.
Yeah.
Councilor Marco?
I'm just looking at the map, where was the proposed, where potential car would be?
There was no proposal or location,
Okay,
it was just somewhere along the drain.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, further to that, I'd like to see some kind of, report back on costs, et cetera, on that, and it might be something we don't do in 2026, but, we don't have access to the back portion. And if we were to, say, wanna harvest that in 5 years, we should have some kind of plan to put a culvert in, and then it can be used as a water material too, so I think I'd like to see some dollars and cents. Possible.
So you, Student Mary wants to like bear some costs and include it in the 5-year budget type of thing for some of that then?
Yeah, and see if, you know, it's expensive and, to me, it really does not warrant it. But, I'd like to see the dollars and cents and then, see if there's a justification somewhere there.
Tracy, did you want to?
Well, through here, Ken and I have also discussed, I was gonna look through the, federal wellness grants and stuff like that, see if we could get some kind of grant, cause we tied it in wellness walking trail, stuff like that, so we'll look into that too, when we're looking at some costs.
I'd be in the justification.
Councilor Marco?
Yeah, I mean, I would be for that, I don't think Deputy Mayor Rollins. Comment about it not paying on, it won't pay in the short term, but I think in the long term, it looks like these gotta get harvested or thinned out anyways, so there's some money there, so. If you can't access it, then it's just wasted and they'll just fall on each other.
Councilor Jethro?
I do like the idea of the culvert crossing over the pedestrian. Just from the times that I've been there. What I'm thinking is this would help also eliminate the 4-wheeler traffic crossing and tearing up the riverbanks. If we could at least keep the 4-wheelers to the culvert crossing. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna stop them coming through, but at least if they've got a proper spot to cross and then not tearing up the riverbanks, because especially back in the spring, it was really mucky back through there, so.
Councilor Martin?
If it's okay with council, it's a little bit adjacent to this, I just wanted to take a minute and thank the Arboretum volunteers that came out for Tree First South. They were awesome to have because there's a lot of tree questions. And yeah, they were great at answering those. I just wanted to, I wondered if we could talk quickly with Ken about, there were some trees left over at the Tree First South. I'm wondering if we could discuss planting them on the edge of the Pioneer Cemetery on the edge of Stratford. So there's a few very old trees there that will probably fall, and if we have these excess trees, we could move towards our earlier discussions about starting to replace some of the trees we've taken down. So
There's 17 trees left.
is there? Yeah, so I touched base with Ken about this and he said this needs to be discussed by council, so. Let's not fall within the arboretum, but we have to find a place for these trees, whether we sell them off, whether they go to the arboretum, if that's the wishes of that group, or. If it's okay.
There are members of the arboretum here. Would you have any use for trees?
Well, yes, we do have use for trees, what is, it just depend on what they are and that sort of thing.
That's sycamore. It's heavy sycamore and some hackberry,
Well, we can use
possibly a
some
bird oak.
Okay, so don't leave it for the meeting.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well,
Right now, they're in pots, somebody's having to water them, it would be nice to get them in the ground, whether they go to the arboretum or to go.
You're not having 17 trees up there.
No, but if we could put some in each of the wards, that's fantastic, and
You said there's 17 or 17.
17.
One-
17,
one second.
okay.
not to
Yeah.
worry.
We'll take it here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something together a little bit. I think.
Yeah, so we want to probably mix some species anyways in that small lot.
Is council okay with the leftover trees to go where Councilor Martin would like them and then the rest for the arboretum? It is at our cost, $600. We had 20 left over and We sold a few off. If anybody around the table today would like some, it's $30 a tree. Otherwise, we did, as a council, did decide to keep our allotted amount, and plant them elsewhere, so.
And do we usually use it? I feel like we don't usually fully full. Tracy, you might know, do we have money left in our tree budget to absorb that $600 if we put them across the township?
I don't, yeah, okay, top of my head, but I didn't.
Yeah, I would think, we don't know for sure right now, because we haven't gotten the board stuff.
Yeah, but we do have the grant.
Yeah, we'll,
Yeah, we should.
it should be.
Okay, so, would you like me to have her make a motion regarding
I think that
the
was
trees? And then we're gonna do the arboretum after, and we're not quite done the arboretum discussion, but,
Yeah.
what motion would you like?
Maybe direction from council that together with Ken, that we plant these trees. Through staff recommendation throughout the arboretum and township limits.
Okay, moved by Councilor Martin, second by Councilor Jeff Bell, all those in favor? Carried. Now, we are still on the management plan. Any other questions regarding the Councilor Bell?
This is a very good report that GWG gave you. I read the costing was $1,200. Is that great? The cost of this report is $1,200.
They have no idea.
It was,
Was that Ken? You did that?
I believe it was under $1,200, it was.
Can we get them to do some of our other reports? That's a very good report.
and we got $750 from the stewardship program, so that's what prompted this, is that there was money available for it, so.
The recommendations are to thin this out in the next couple of years. Should we be applying for a contract or put an RFP out to thin those pine out now? Those pine trees, should they be coming out? Is it time? Absolutely. Yeah, and as council, should we put in, or Ken, should we be putting an RFP out there, to have that done? To thin those pines out?
Through the mayor, I'm not sure, the time frame for contractors to do that work. I'm thinking they would be best to do the work potentially in the winter, if they got across that water course. I think the concern was that the pines may not have much, demand, like you might find it hard to get a contractor who would want those lots. Is why I was picturing combining them both and trying to get, you know, the commercial harvest and the pine thing done within the next 5 years kind of thing, so I don't know.
Would you be able to make a couple phone calls and see if there is any demand for those white pine trees? Cause, listening to the members here, they want more.
Yeah, we can.
To wait 5 years, all we're doing is limiting the growth of the other trees beside it.
But we do need the culvert.
Yeah,
right?
It's not in the winters.
I'm not sure, I think you could get potentially you could get some of the harvest done with that, they just gotta work around it.
Yeah, if you do it, it's probably fine.
I think I could check with something best.
Go ahead.
This is off topic a little bit, but Kim, maybe you know, who owns the property on, what's that, the 130 and line 14, that, eye-shaped section with the road in behind the.
I believe that's owned by, the farm on the. I'm gonna call that the southeast side of the road, because at one point, I think, the road, our 130A was kind of the original road, and then they cut through this farmland, with the curved 130.
No, the reason I was asking was that I noticed there's quite a few trees dead in there, and if we owned it, then, it might be a spot to plant some of those trees.
Yeah, no, I'm sure we don't own,
Councilor Carter.
The only worry I have is about the water course. I've seen bushes get logged, they do make quite a mess, so I just wonder I don't know what the water course would look like if they had to go through it all the time, take the trees and, out.
See, I am a bit confused, because I read the report thinking we do need the 100,000 for the culvert, but now you're saying we don't in order to harvest. Because of the timing of the year. Am I right?
I think if I to clarify, so the report recommended a pedestrian bridge.
as a amenity for that area. My look at it was, I think if we had a culvert crossing and put the money towards that instead of Destin Ridge, there would be other benefits, including it could be used for the harvest or access or maintenance or whatever. But I do believe they probably could do a harvest without a crossing, they just end up probably, they got to, there might be more costly, have to, bale the trees over or drag them through or whatever. They don't have good access, but I know, what about harvest company, I don't know their processes very well, so.
And
I'd have
there's
to-
zero way for us to get into the back.
There's no access other than through the existing property. Out in front, yeah.
Would you be able to go through a neighborhood
Well, in
property?
the past, we've gone through McCurdy's property to the north.
Yes.
He's allowed us access back in there through that laneway. His laneway. That was basically to go back to the forester to look at. So that's anything to do with logging.
Yeah, we went to the neighbors and asked to get access for
Yes,
this contractor for GWG to go back and look. And there was some hesitation from the neighbors to let us through. Based on, I think, some history they had with that property, but, and the prior owners, but. They did let us through to walk, we were just walking through to get back, so I'm not sure they would have a huge appetite to let forestry equipment. Go through there, but.
Tracy, do you believe you can get a grant?
It's certainly look into it, I mean, if it. Go through like the federal wellness and. Usually the federal one, I would think that they promote the. Community wellness, health thing, so that, I think that's where I look. I'm not sure if you could get anything through the natural resources, I could check there as well.
But we would be able to get some money back for logging that, it would be better for it, so, but it's a long-term payout if we have to spend 100,000 today. Councilor Crowe.
So as far as your recommendation, what's the best thing for that area? A culvert or?
well, yes, if you're gonna log it, I would say a culvert is probably, required. I wonder, is there still the grant for, under the Drainage Act, or is there a grant for things like that culvert? It is municipal drain, and if it's designed and approved by a drainage engineer, is there still not a 1/3 grant from the provincial government for that work?
I'm not aware of any.
For agriculture.
Just for agricultural lands, yeah.
So maybe we're looking for a report from staff to see if there's any grant applications and could Ken get a little more detail on the crossing itself. But we're wanting a bigger crossing, not a pedestrian.
Yeah,
And I just, through the mayor there, if you want more info on a crossing, it's gonna require, like, if you wanna get Brandon to come up with a design, there's gonna be a cost to that. I've got an estimate from them. At no cost, but if you want any more work or want someone else to do it, there's gonna be a cost to design. I don't think it'll be very much, because they Brandon does a lot of farm crossing stuff, but. There's gonna be a financial cost for council.
Councilor Bell?
Would GWG know of, this is their kind of specialty by the looks of the report, would they know of any grants that would be available, whether through the forestry or it's, the forestry management, maintenance, whatever you call it, maybe we could reach out to them and see if they, pick their brain on, if there's any grants available.
Councilor Vanessa?
Russ here, Mark. There used to be grants available through the species at risk surfit program. And at one time, they were paying up to $50,000 for a project across waters, and right now it says they're paying $20,000. Will you use or can be able to look into that?
Yeah, you have to investigate the parameters of.
Right. It's like, I know if.
I don't know Jim very well.
No, but I know there's different farmers who have had crossings across creeks, and they've been able to apply to this, so I would hopefully that This would not, we could apply for that also, right?
What's this grant?
SARFIP, SARFIP, Species at Risk of Farm Incentive Program.
Would it apply to a municipal property?
I don't remember this from that. But there may be some corresponding.
We gotta say I'm not great. Got lots here.
Counselor Duncan.
So I'm looking at a little bit better, and again, I'm not familiar with the, more eastern side of the property. To properly harvest, are we gonna have to put in 2 crossings? You see the way that the water course is showing on the map? Can I show you what I'm seeing here? Just looking back here, C1, C2, it looks like at some point we're gonna have to cross to get back into this area, or is that less than it's actually showing on the map?
Across here, you mean?
Yeah, back in here. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure just how big that water.
yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Spring and dry up in the summer kind of thing. Yeah, I know
Nice
that's course right there.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? To be honest with you, you know what, I get that new training.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad. That's why I was curious.
I'm curious.
Alright, so
Thank
what was the answer there?
Honestly, it's very tough to get back to that area, and they're not all that familiar with it because it is so dense and underbrush.
Deputy Mayor.
I'd like to make a resolution that we hire Spirit Associates to do a design for culvert crossing. And that way we'll have a better idea and we'll verify whether we need one culvert or access and do it right.
Okay, motion made by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, seconded by Councilor Jeff Bell. All those in favor? Great. And since you are here, do you have any comments or questions?
Well, the question I had is there any indication in the report as to what potential income is derived from that? Is it last harvest? Is it when you were close to it, it's just offsetting the cost of the crossing?
No, there was no financial, I gathered that the pine is not very valuable potentially, so but any value would be in the mixed hardwood, I expect.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting a windfall, you know.
No, I understood that from the person I went through with, that he suggested it would be just as well if the trees were even just cut and dropped every other row kind of thing. And just to make room for the other trees to be able to grow, yeah.
Councilor Courtney?
I had a good friend that got a log bush or a bush log. And what he did there, I forget the name of the person, they came in and then they sent out an RF, they sent out a thing and then loggers could bid on it and he got a lot more than. So I think there's better ways to do it instead of just going to a logger. I could get the name of the person and he might come out and have a look at it and put out a thing to see who's interested in logging that for it.
Yeah, well,
I'll get some more information.
All right, feel we're on track. So you're more than welcome to print copies of the report if you want to keep them for the Arboretum files.
All right, thanks. Is that available online or anything?
Well, it would be in a council package, and I have an email prepared to send it off to Kathy, because I had her email.
Oh, okay, that's great.
I just wanted council to receive it first.
Sure. Yeah, she can forward it.
So she can share.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right, we are moving on to the added part of our. Okay, I have a recommendation that the council receives the report titled Working Wooden Tract and the Forest Management Plan prepared by GWG Resources Services for Information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, second by Councilor Jethro. All those in favor? Carried. And we are the added report to grader repairs.
Thank you, Mayor Orr, and thanks for allowing this report to be included. It kind of came up here at the last minute on Thursday, Friday last week. Our grader 3, which is the middle-aged grader we have, developed a coolant leak.
We had, Chad Fletch from Canada who comes and does, a lot of our mobile work, come take a look at it. And, he's identified there's a broken head bolt on the engine. The cost to repair is a bit unknown, until it gets things tore apart, because generally there could be some reason to cause that, there's a bolt crack, or break. We'd have to take the head off and get it sent away and make sure it's not broken. So he would expect it would be a minimum, $10,000 repair. Assuming there's nothing more major wrong. And then there's another option to, get a replacement, engine, they call it a long block. To trade, then you get all new components, or the engine components anyway, with that. And the estimated cost on that was, about $40,000. So the question then was, whether we try and repair the bare minimum or, replace the engine, at that $40,000 cost. Knowing that the, engine has about 12,000 hours on it. And that, according to Chad, those engines generally require, an overhaul somewhere around 10 to 15,000 hours. So it's right in that time frame. So we didn't want to throw, money at the, the head work, to find out that the rest of the engine components are, at the end of their life as well. So, there's a few options, for us here. My recommendation is that we, replace the engine. And then we know that component is, new or good for a while. We come with a 1-year warranty on the engine. As our greater fleet goes, so the greater one had an engine replaced in 2020. That's our oldest grader. We haven't replaced it, as the engine had been replaced. We'll probably keep for a few more years. Grader 3, this one that has the engine issues right now, it's scheduled for replacement next year. So our grader fleet is getting, around 20-year-old age, those two units that we rely upon pretty heavily. And so I've got the information here and some pictures for council. If you have any questions, have an answer.
Questions for Ken, Councillor Burley?
Would it be a good idea when he's here, Ken, that he go over the grader? All in, go over everything on the grader, and I like your recommendation. I would go for replacing the engine and that. It'll buy us quite a few more years.
I definitely have him, go over more, stuff that just may increase some costs that needs. I think there's a couple little things, like there's some cylinders with some small leaks and stuff, that, yeah.
Good, you may well.
I like Ken's recommendation, and I agree that, we should repair anything that needs it now, while it's down. Ken, which grader was it that we replaced the transmission? And if you replace the engine, do you replace the clutch and everything?
I don't remember replacing a transmission in the grader.
Maybe that was the engine, then, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was the flywheel that had caused some of the problems, I think. So the grader 1, we replaced the engine in about 5 years ago now. And the transmissions, we would still have that old transmission. I don't think they're known to have issues, but it's got that 12,000 hours on it as well. On this grader, it could go at any time. On grader 3, this one, we have replaced the hydraulic pump. Relatively recently, I'd say, last 5 years as well. So that's another one of those components that can be expensive and repair. But the whole machine itself, it's got rust and wear on stuff. So it's not new anymore. But I think it's not any value. Broken, we need something.
How many years does it extend it, we guess?
The engine part would ideally should be good for another, 10, 12,000 hours, but all the other components.
So that's a concern of mine is if we extend the replacement of that grader, now we've got two machines that are partially repaired, but not fully, that would be my concern with, extending the life of both of them. Now, maybe, we could extend the life of grader 3 and then look at replacing grader 1 at some point sooner. But the cost of new graders has gone up substantially over the last few years, which is a bit of a concern. I'm not sure, with the dollar in the markets and stuff, whether it'll come back down in the future or not, but they tend not to come back down much, they might stabilize.
Counselor Vanessa?
Unfortunately, this is a John Deere grader. In the US, I found 3 separate companies that literally take your old grader and rebuild them. They put a new engine in, new transmission in, hydraulic pumps, they literally sandblast the whole thing, and we're coming in at about a third of the cost. You have an old frame, but you have a brand new grader at a third of the cost of buying new. I've been unable to find anybody that does John Deere work yet, but I'd like to go with Bob's and Sam's direction here. I would love to have Chad go over that thing and say, okay, if we put an engine in, we have a new hydraulic pump, do we need some hydraulic lines put on? I mean, possibly for $100,000, we can extend that grader for 7 to 10 years. I think that's a wonderful option. And, I'm good with your recommendation to get that engine fixed, but I would go a little farther. And let's look into get him to literally go over that grader. I mean, looking at the pictures you sent us, Ken, there's some skin cancer on the side of it. That should be sanded off and at least painted turn to stop it. That can be done by staff. To keep a little bit of skin cancer, if you cover it up and have a trim on it or whatever, or get it painted, it's not a hole in 5 or 10 years. So, yeah, I'm good with the recommendation.
All right, any other comments, Jeff?
Yeah, so I think I agree with what's being said, because I think if we put a reman engine in there and have it looked at, I think we're gonna be extending the life. But I do think that we need to be, what are we at 5 years? Do you know how many hours we've got on number 1 since the reman went in?
No, I don't have that. I think around 400 to 500 hours a year on a grader, so.
Okay. So maybe we need to look at just pushing that. I don't know where it's sitting on the asset management plan for replacement currently grader number 1, but maybe that's something we need to look at going into a couple of years.
All right, I'll put the recommendation on the floor that the council authorize the engine replacement for grader number 3 at an estimated cost of $40,000. Moved by Councilor Martel, second by Councilor Corby. All those in favor?
Question,
Yes, sir.
can we also add to that, they repair, any, necessary issues? Whether it be hydraulic cylinders or whatever, which may extend the cost. And I think we need to include that if we're going to do that.
Well, the motion was passed, so we can do a second one and just to.
Okay, so what's the second motion? Do you want to?
Sure.
One?
That, the tech is, replacing the engine, that he go over the whole grader and complete the necessary repairs that may be an issue.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Will. Sure, I gotta get a seconder to get it on. Councilor Jeff L. Any questions?
Is there an unlimited budget for that, or do we attach something to it?
From 800,000, I'd say if it costs 40,000, we're still ahead if we get 10 years.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Ben. Yes.
May I bring something up before we're done, okay?
Yeah.
I'd like to propose a budget, request for next year, whether council has the appetite for it, but line 14, that 2 clicks that's not paid, really needs to have something done to it. The traffic on that, the heavy traffic, it's wicked. And we seem to spend money on gravel and dust control, but the dust control can't last because it has to be good, like, it just needs to be upgraded from number 7 to 23, that's the only 2 kilometer stretch. Now, I'd like, if council will allow, I'd like Ken to bring a report back, maybe like when I cored a hole in that road a couple of years ago, there was like 12 inches of gravel. If we can do some investigation to see what kind of cost it would be to pave that 2 kilometer stretch, because we're gonna probably top coat line 15 next year. And we're right in the area, so if it's all right with council, if Ken did some legwork and brought a report back on the cost of doing that, I just wonder if council would consider it.
Can you have any comments?
No, I think I know it's, cause Sam mentioned that road a few times now, so. Like, I know it's up to council, you know, it's a as an improvement a little bit, cause now it's upgrading it from a gravel road up to a paved road, but we get requests for that on other roads too, right off, so.
Councillor Jeffma?
I would certainly support Sam's, Councilor Corey's motion. I know it's gonna create a new heavier traffic, but the traffic that's on there, is heavy, early morning, late in the evenings. And that road gets beat up pretty bad, so I was actually just talking with Ken about the section directly south on 125 between 14 and 15, it's pretty rutted up by Valentine's and a lot of potholes from all the traffic, so I think it would make sense to look at feasibility at least of getting that covered over.
Councillor Marco?
Yeah, I agree, that road just did not beat a dead horse here, but that road gets a lot of traffic and a lot of happy traffic, and there's it's overdue. I mean,
Councillor Martin?
I'm not arguing, I agree, it's just, I wanted to say, it's something that I've been repeatedly asked for from ratepayers in that area for the last, kind of skip down, go to the other side of St. Mary's, so I think that it's something that, people that live down there would really.
I'm sure the town of St. Mary's did that. Plastic cordial?
It's not like I'm trying to get line 11 paved.
That's nice.
Yeah. There's only 6 cars a day.
And is there any other roads, currently right now that the weather's been great, crew's been out, do we have room in the budget to update anything else or the ahead schedule? Banner Drive?
I had looked into that, the contractors, they're real busy and not looking for more work, I'm trying to get, the paving that we have scheduled get done. There's stuff coming in the budget for next year. I know, right now, Road 125, just because of the detours and all the traffic from Stratford, 122 are alone, and then the county with 130. That first block on Road 125 between I-8 and 32 is heavy traffic right now and pretty rough. It's paid partially, paying back, but that one has been high maintenance for us as well. We're over the years, a lot of times due to construction happening somewhere else, but yeah.
Councillor Burke?
In my talks with Ken, he tries to get bridge work done every year, and maybe there's can be a shift from, from one year to the next or something, but I'll leave it up to Ken, but there's something that we could maybe put off a year, or if this works, if it's within council's desire.
Okay, so do you need a motion to have Ken investigate line 14? Do you think, Ken, would you like one?
Oh, I'm sure. And we're gonna be coming up with budget, 2026 budget stuff, we're working on it now, it's gonna be coming to council, ideally very soon, so. I'll gather all that up and it'll be included in stuff for discussions when we're looking at the big picture of everything, I think, it's a good time to do it.
Okay, so motion that council instructs Ken to do some legwork on the paving on line 14. Moved by Council Corrigan, second by Jeff Bell, all those in favor, carried, thank you. We're at 8.3, acting CEO treasurer. Go ahead.
Can I ask one
Yeah.
question, Ken? Okay, Ken, you know, what the paving schedule is for road 130 and line 29?
Very soon. I believe they're scheduled to come later this week to start paving, but they're going to be starting over on 130 on the east part. And then carrying on, so I would say eventually next week.
Now, I noticed with the grind, they didn't do the partial on line 29, they did not do the piece from the tracks to Highway 7. And they did, will that be next year? Also with the piece of 130 from line 32 to Sidwell, do you know that at all?
Sorry, just.
The city piece
Perth
of line 20.
County Road 130 you're talking about?
Well, that piece from line 32 to Sebringville, that's been pushed off till next year,
Correct.
right? And what about the piece from line 29 from Highway 7 to the tracks at Give Road, Give Road? The city part. I know that's not ours.
Right, so I have no idea what city staff was doing.
Would be, my understanding was they were going to do that also. That was in the contract. Is that's what we were told.
Nope, the city had inquired about including it, or I tried to discuss it with the city, but Perth County did not want, they were having whatever issues with Stratford, so there's no inclusion of Stratford's work in the Perth County tender.
Other than the
The boundary struck through us, yes, we're getting our part done.
That's disappointing. That'll be another road that's a disaster in 5 years, like all Stratford's roads.
Any further questions for Ken? All right, we will put the accounts on the floor. A recommendation that the accounts payable listed dated October 1st, 2024, for the period of September 11th to October 1st, 2025, in the amount of $373,751.80 be approved. Note 5, Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, seconded by Councilor Corrigan. Any questions on the accounts today? Councilor Marco?
There is roughly $30,000 charge for the curb. Is that a drain or what is that works?
Through the area, that's some major maintenance on the Kerlockton drain. Is over in the area where we did replace that culvert 108 with Zora on the Perth Road. Quite a bit of Scott as a contractor there, they were brushing and doing a clean out on that drain. Pretty long stretch.
Councilor Vanessa?
But that will be charged back to the land, I'm sure, or so.
Yeah, just the drain work, correct.
Yeah, that's, so it's not actually cost to the township, right?
Well, we'll have some, we have half of the road, for Oxford Road, we will be paying our share for it, sorry.
Right.
Any further questions for Tracy? Councilor Vanessa?
Just one question on the 2016 freight limit. There's a safety done on it, costs almost $18,000. Just to any update on that chemical?
Yeah, quite a bit of work required on it. There was a whole bunch of things that added up. There was some. It started to show its age, I guess, but it was just components on there was some cross member on frame had to repair. Just a whole bunch of. The trucks are starting to show their age a bit.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, if I can add to that, the MTO a couple years ago changed their safety regulations. And all wheels have to be pulled off and have to send photographs in, get approvals. And that just stopped at like $5,000 every safety at least. Some even worse than I was talking with one company and they said their safety increased $10,000 per unit.
Any other questions on the accounts for Tracy? All those in favor? Carried. Item B, Kirkland Woodham Community Center 2024 financials.
Tracy, would you like to speak to those?
Yeah, for you, or, yeah, these are just the, financials that were done by CBOC. And company, so they are, they audited the financial statements at the community center. What they do when they do the audit is they get the GLs from us. Bruce. The expense that we billed them back for. So they're basically just for information for this council, because they're not a board of council, they're not a committee council, they're a community group that we help out with at our facility. So this is more for council's information, so they can see how the community center is running, and I think it's something that you guys will be wanting to take forward when you start working on a new agreement with South Huron and yourselves, to see how this community center is going to be run. So if there's any questions, I can try and answer, but.
Questions for Tracy? I really would like to have a joint meeting with Mosh regarding this. It is one that's concerning for me, to get it right, so, but we don't have a CAO right now, so the pause right there. But I would think in the next 2 months, can we meet with Mosh? Would that be fair?
Yeah, if we have a CAO.
Okay, quick. All right, so we are receiving these for information only. All right, I have a recommendation that the 2024 Frickin William Community Center Board financial statements be received for information. Moved by Councillor Corby, seconded by Councillor Vanessa. All those in favor? Carried.
So,
Yes.
make sure you book the hall and just don't show up to use it, because the last time was not received very well. I was there to see it, so. You book the hall for your thing, you just don't show up and think you can use the hall. No. So, that would be a strong recommendation.
Last meeting.
All right, we have report for the 2026 salary grade adjustment. Tracy.
Oh, yeah, Mayor, this is just the annual report that comes to council for the COLA increase for staff. To be included in the 2026 budgets. Are there any questions?
Any questions regarding the salary grid adjustment? Seeing none, I have a recommendation that the council receive the report titled annual salary grid adjustment dated October 7th, 2025 for information. And that council approves the salary grid adjustment of 1.99% for staff effective the first full pay of 2026. Moved by Councillor Corby, second by Councillor Martin. All those in favor? Carried. We have the audited service RFP award.
So through the municipal act, you were supposed to put out an external audit service RFP after 5 years. Ours hasn't been done in a while, so I put one out, and our current external audit provider came in close. I had senior staff score it. And their recommendation was that we accept the CBOC and company audit service.
Are you comfortable with that?
It's fine. I'm okay with it.
You sure?
Yeah, it's fine.
Any questions? All right, I have a recommendation that the council receive the report titled Audit Services RFP award dated October 7th, 2025 for information, and that council award RFP number FN 01-2025 to CBOC and Company for a total 5-year contract cost of $108,300, excluding HST and direct staff, to bring forward a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement. And that council authorized CBOC and Company as the township refers to as auditor for a period not exceeding 5 years. Moved by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm, second by Councilor Marfell, all those in favor? Carried. IT services.
Yeah, you can wear all, since I came here, we've had quite a bit of, IT problems and, our provider is not timely. We have no cyber insurance, we have no, two-factor, authorization to get into our stuff. I worked with Zuling Technologies in Elgin County, they're great, they know our software. Software here is very similar to what I had at Dunwich. In fact, Center Square, called Zuling for help with Keystone, which we are lacking on here. So I got, Zuling to send us an agreement, they're a little bit cheaper than the current ones we have, they are, I know their service is good, they know our system, they will help, Dan came in and looked around and he actually gave us some help on where we should put stuff when we do the renovations. Turns out we don't need a separate closet, that the utility room will work for what he's thinking. He's all about the cloud storage for safety. We can get rid of those backup tapes and that are taking up room in that middle area. So anyways, we don't have an agreement with our existing company, so we can enter into this agreement and phase out. Zuling knows this company, so he can work with them to get everything transferred over. If council wishes to enter into this agreement, so any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Councilor Marfell?
So what exactly is the agreement? Is it just an hourly service, like an on-demand?
Yeah, so they'd be charging per hour, like it would be a combination of, it wouldn't be a full hour if you like 15 minutes, but they can do a lot of it online, they can just get online. But and then he would also provide, he would come in and he would look at all our existing software and computers and stuff, and he would provide a capital update for me, so I would know when I'm replacing servers, those kind of things. So there'd be a little, that would be probably the time and material, that kind of thing, but yeah, yeah.
The, would they be able to, and I think this is over the future of what when we kind of amalgamate everything, to digitize everything, will they aid with that as well?
They, depending on what, the clerk was at Pix for her, software, but yeah, they helped, in that with our Laserfish. So they could, work all that into it, and it would be all saved, on the cloud, basically, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding IT services? Seeing none, I have a recommendation that council receives the report titled IT Service Agreement with Zuling Technologies dated October 7th, 2025 for information, and that council directs staff to bring forward a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the IT service agreement with Zuling Technologies. Moved by Councilor Martin, second by Councilor Jeff Bell. All those in favor? Carried. We're at 8.4. What is that? We have the council payroll.
That's all I have for you today, so.
All right, council payroll is there. I'll put it on the floor, the recommendation that the report card in the council payroll September 2025, dated October 7th, 2025, including the total payroll of $7,609.20 be approved. Moved by Councilor Corby, second by Deputy Mayor Wilhelm. It's on the floor. Is there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. And we are at correspondence. Anything? We are council reports. Councilor Corby, do you want to go first?
Just an update on the mobility bus. They have an aging fleet. Their yearly, the yearly expenses on the vehicles of 3 years ago was 10,000 a year. The last 2 years have been 30,000 a year. The oldest one's a 2015, that's the bus. I reached out to Matthew Ray. He is meeting with Amber, the administrator for St. Mary's Mobility. They're meeting this week, and with John Nader, it has sparked some. We have to get money to buy a new bus, and they're about 140,000, so. She's meeting with them to see if there's money that can be pulled out of a fund somewhere, Trinity Fund or whatever. Yeah, it's all good, and then because it's hard to believe how good a service it is for South and St. Mary's and I think Zora. I think there's 3 communities that really service as well. It'd be, you wouldn't know how good it was until it was gone. So, I'm trying to, find monies, for them to start replacing, because it's just going the wrong way and it's not sustainable. And the trouble is, you can't raise the fee. It's hard to raise the fees for the people that are using it, because, it's just the way it is. So that's what I've had going on lately. So that's all I have.
Councilor Mark Bell?
Lots going on in the chamber, just announcing, I know this isn't a rotating part, but I'll do the announcements for, there's 4 events that are coming up. October 15th, there's the Bridging Business and Local Governments, with the St. Mary's Mayor. The next day, there's the Business and Government Roundtable with our Mayor Sue Orr, as well as Matthew Ray, John Nader, and Martin Ritzman and Al Strathy. On the 23rd of October, there's the RBC Business Symposium. And then finally, the Business Excellence Award on November 6th at the Tom Patterson Theater this year. So move the event to the fall and also move venues. So a little bit different look this year. But been involved in those discussions, which has been really good, and it's be a great night. So anyone who wants to go to any of those events, let me know, or get in touch. That's it.
I noticed they added Walter to the panel as well.
Well, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, great.
Deputy Mayor?
Not much, the Gulf Atlantic Fire Board meeting, it was confirmed that the Lucan Godolph is going to hire a contract fire chief to kind of steer the direction Lucan Godolph is going to go as far as fire services and long range planning. So it's basically agreed that the boards will be gone. And then we will have to negotiate probably a fee for service or anything on the partnership.
Councilor Vanessa?
Nothing to report.
Councilor Jeff Bell?
Pretty quiet from this one.
Councilor Mark?
Mayor Orr and I helped with the tree power, which is always a lot of fun. Or councilors plant some trees, so that's always my very favorite day. Because people are very happy, and it's nice to see all the neighbors and beautiful weather as always. The other thing is St. Paul's Rec. Some of those volunteers were out last night to do a big clean out to be ready for the spring, and they're happy to report there's some new blood coming, new young moms that will, because we're aging out, right? A lot of our volunteers no longer even have kids in the program anymore, so that's been a real struggle for that committee. And they've had some new people coming on our meeting on Wednesday. That's it.
Excellent. Been invited to go to Downey Optimus President's Night, incoming president, so I will be going with my husband Jeff, hopefully that's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, 6:30.
Yeah. Reminder of Fire Safety Week in Cedarville, 6 to 8. We do really appreciate it when you show up there. We are still building interviews for our CAO position. And Remembrance Day is going really well, and I still am looking for a student, but I have the board writing an article on his uncle, Jane Atkins. So I'm very happy with how that is going. So it'll be good. So I think that is all I have.
Can I add one thing to Bob's, to the Grand Fire Department, their statistics were 38 calls, their calls are up. There's 35 into Lucan Adolph and 3 in Perth South. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
All right, I have, the report for the mayor's update. You can see where I was in September. Recommendation of the report regarding the mayor's monthly activity for the month of September 2025. We dated October 7th. We received for information, notified Council Corby, seconded by Council Vanessa. All those in favor? Carried. We got bylaws, no other announcements?
So just back to just expand on the significance of having mayor or attending our incoming president's night tomorrow. The Office Club of Downey starts its 50th year of community service this month. So there's going to be a lot more. Our official 50th anniversary, we were chartered in June. So June will be a big month for us, but we are planning a number of large events throughout the area throughout the year. So it's going to be a very interesting year, and it's for me, it's a big deal that this organization's been around, and we still have. Well, we number on, I think 9 other members, or people that started 50 years ago are still involved, including Elton Baker, who's coming on as president a year from now. Almost 50 years to the day where he was first president. So I just wanted to, you're gonna hear a lot more about the Office Club from me this year.
I do remember a conversation with Jim stating that I was a woman, how could I go to a men's? Allowed. Yes, I did. All right, no other notices in motion, no other business. The question period, I have a confirmatory bylaw 39-2025, the bylaw developed concerning the bylaw not adopted with our resolution of the township of Perth. We did first, second, and third readings, and properly signed and sealed. Noted by Council Martin, second by Council Jocko. All those in favor? Carried. We are adjourning at 12:30.